Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on Agile Requirements Designer and the integration with both service virtualization and test data manager. So here today with us is Sachin Srivastava, and he's going to walk us through all of this and also do a demo for us. You are hard muted, so you would not be able to ask questions directly during the presentation, but you feel free to type your questions in the panel itself. And at the end, we'll save time for questions. And I'll also unmute you at the end so you can ask questions directly if that's what you prefer. And so for now, I'm going to turn it over to Sachin.
Hello, my name is Sachin. I am the SME for Broadcom's AppDev products. So today I'm going to talk about Agile Requirements Designer. So before I present how we do the integration and everything, we need to talk about what is model-based testing. So back in the day when we used to do development, we used to hard code those test cases, create those test data manually, and requirements has to be understood between developers, testers, and the product owner. So there used to be a lot of back and forth and a lot of time wasted just to understand the requirement. And because of the ambiguity in the requirement, if there is a change or if there's a correction done, all the rework has took a lot of time. Right, so that is where the model-based testing came into picture. So with the help of ARD, we could create a model based on the user story provided and get the feedback straight away from the product owners. We can create those test cases, attach test data, and create those test data which is required for our test data on demand. Then apart from creating the test data, we can generate those automation framework, like we can generate Selenium code, Java code, or whatever is the code that we are testing. And with the help of ARD, we could integrate it with ALMs and JIRAs and values of the word directly, so that all the test cases that are generated are automatically moved to JIRAs and values of the word. So model-based testing approach is a shift-left testing effort, and it helps a lot of removal of a lot of manual process. Now we have moved towards the next stage. Next stage is where it's AI accelerated. So nowadays everything is AI generated or AI accelerated. So now we have had a platform where ARD can talk to an LLM, and LLM understands the user story or the requirement and gets you the model. So what is the benefit is AI can generate you test cases, but there would be a lot of test cases and we don't know if those test cases are meaningful or not. So there has to be a human oversight over all the test cases that can be generated. Why this is important? Because we want to make sure that the correct level of testing is done at unit level, at integration and regression. We don't want hundreds and thousands of test cases created and run, which is going to consume memory, which is going to consume a lot of resources, etc. Right? So we want to have, we want to leverage AI in such a way that we provide a prompt to the LLM, and that would generate me the model, and then I can attach test data using test data manager. I can attach automation layer, any code. It can be any code generation, being Java, Selenium, Python, or even request response pair, which is I'm going to demo, where we can export all the generated test data to create a virtual service. So there is a lot of effort that now with the help of LLM, we can deliver things quickly. So we can do LLM based model creation, that if there is a change in the requirements, or in future if there is a user story that there is a change in the requirements and change in the outcome of the project, we can just update it using the same chat that we use to create the model. And we can also add our new scenarios to it. So we can do it manually, or we can do it via chatbot too. So it's all possible because of the AI integration. So let's quickly dive into the demo. Right. So how it works is we now have a capability to connect directly to an AI using our plugin framework. So when we create a model saying that webinar live, so for the demo purpose, I have created a user story. So it can be a link, it can be a rally link, it can be a Jira link, it can be a link of with the data in it. So for now, just for the demo, I've created a user story, which is nothing but a credit card application. So if person applies for the credit card, has to give information about the name, place, social security, and employment information, and based on that criteria, and there would be a like a credit card generated. Or if the person doesn't meet the criteria, then the credit card would be rejected. So this is basically the user story. So what I'm doing is I'm just copy pasting it. So AI is all about giving the correct prompt, right? So if you provide the correct prompt and just hit send, you would be able to quickly create the model. So what it is doing is it's doing an API call to my Gemini. So for the demo, I'm using Gemini, but we can connect to Claude or OpenAI or any the LLMs that you are using. So basically, it's an API based. So we can connect to any LLMs, right? So we just pass on this information. So LLM understands that yes, this is the criteria that the person wants to create a model out of it, and it is how quickly it has generated the model, right? Because my previously without the AI, I would have to generate this model manually myself. So it used to consume a little bit of time. It was still helpful, but nowadays everybody wants output to be quicker, response to be quicker, test cases generated should be very quick, right? So that is where AI has improved the performance exponentially. Like it has helped customers to generate those models, to update the existing models, which used to be like huge models that can now easily be upgraded using AI without and there is an ask button here which mentions about what this model talks about. So this, with the help of AI, we are able to remove all the dependency on manual effort and human error, and we have put it into a chatbot, and with the help of this we can generate all of this. Still AI is learning, so there might be some mistakes that AI would do, but that is where the human oversight would come into picture, and with the help of us analyzing the model, we should be able to get the feedback to LLM and correct it out. And with just with the correct prompt, we are able to generate this model. So what it does is, as soon as I save this, I should be able to generate all the test cases. So on my day one of my requirement, only what I got is I got this user story. I was able to generate this test cases, and I was able to save it. So now what I have to do is I go to my product owner saying that these are the 14 test cases that were generated, and these are the paths that is this, and this is how the model looks like. So on day one of my development, day one of my user story creation, I have a model available which I can show it to product owner and get the feedback. And I can also understand what are the different cost complexity. Am I doing over testing, under testing? So there is a the cost and complexity coverage available within the product, which explains if you're doing over testing and under testing or not, right? So there are benefits of using ARD because it tells you that you are doing the correct testing and you don't have to do the same amount of testing at all the levels. So we have different optimization level for integration testing, regression testing, pre-prod testing, etc. So you can generate lesser and lesser number of test cases based on the optimization level. Yeah, but we do have an option to have all the possible test cases if you are doing a unit test generation, right? So my first goal is achieved, where I want to generate the test cases, right? And I have quickly exported it to rallies and Jiras of the world. Now my next step is I want to have some sort of a test data. So as you know, we do have a solution called Test Data Manager, where there are data painter functions that can be leveraged to create synthetic data, or they can be a direct link with the database to fetch the live data. So I'm going to use synthetic data. So what my prompt is telling me is that I am going to create variables, and for the demo, I have manually assigned all the functions that needs to be used. So if you don't assign, and if you have like the PDF file of all the test data painter functions available, you can assign that. Just because I want to make sure that my model gives me correct data for the demo, I have assigned all the variables and the corresponding data painter functions. And what I'm telling it is to just update the model and assign all of these to the like the start and declare all the variables. So what it is doing is now it's going to create a process block at the start, and it would declare all the variables. So why this is important? Because apart from the test case generation, I want to generate the test data associated to all of my test cases. So that is where now it has created a new process block, as you can see, because I have asked it to create a new process block and I have assigned all the test data variables. So as soon as it creates, it automatically performs a layout. So if I save this now and I go back to my because I have to regenerate it because it started at the start. I just have to regenerate the test case. So I go back here, and now if I click here and I see the properties, so I need to generate and assign the variable. So I think I need to just assign to the initialize variable process block. Maybe like it created only the process block, so we just have to assign it again. And yeah, that is where the AI has to have a human oversight, because as you can see, it created only process block. Now it has attached all the data painter functions. So if I click on save here, now go about the test data. So I want to see what are the different test data that were generated for this particular model. So I can just click on resolve, and automatically, as you can see, for my uh, for my test cases that was generated, all of these data painter functions are automatically attached to each and every test case, right? So on day one, as soon as I have created the model, now I have the test data also available, because again, with the help of TDM, I am able to generate this test data that is required for my test data driven development. I can export it as in CSV and give it to my tester, or upload it to rallies and Jiras of the world. Like there is nothing stopping us from exporting it to like modern tools like Zephyr or X-rays of the world as well, right? So we do have a very extensive plugin framework which integrates with a lot of release management tools. So apart from the test cases, we are now able to generate the test data. This test data can now be leveraged by my testers. So as you can see, there are data which is realistic. The phone numbers are realistic, SSNs are realistic, salaries are realistic, states. So this is fabricated data, but it looks like a kind of a real data. That is what is the need of the hour. Like we want to be able to generate data for our testing, so that we have to know whether we are doing the correct testing with the correct data. So that is where TDM helps. TDM can give you that fabricated data or that synthetic data that you need for your testing without relying on anyone else. So you have just created a model, you just assigned variables that you need as a part of your testing, and you are able to generate this data with the model. So my second problem is resolved, which is the test data requirement. Now let's say if I'm doing an API testing, right? Because the next step would be to generate the automation layer, right? I can generate gherkins, feature files of the world. I can practically generate anything from this model. Why? Because this is giving me a platform where I can leverage ARD to not only generate the API request response pair, I can also assign a UI page. So let's say if there are page object models in a UI, I can also tell that this is my UI looks like, this is how my page object model looks like. It automatically assigns those variable and creates those code for it. So that is where we can generate Selenium testing code. We can generate glue code associated to the feature file testing. So there is no limitation on the type of code that we can generate. All it needs is a sample of or a code that it looks like, right? Because otherwise it would generate the data based on its understanding, but we want to have correct automation framework generated, right? So we just have to provide a sample. So that would be a prompt, right? So now we go to the automation layers and we select the request. So in the prompt that for the request, I've said that this is how my request looks like, and attach and initialize variables. So what I'm doing is I'm attaching to the process block, the starting initialize variable process block, and I'm telling it that use this as your base and use the variables that are declared in the process block. And so basically, I'm giving it information that the request JSON should only be available at the start, and then based on the manipulation of data that happens in the model, automatically those variables would be updated. So it is creating an automation step which would be attached only to my initialize variable, right? So once it is done, as you can see here, once it is done, I can go to the automation layer and see all of these variables are automatically assigned here. There are a few hard-coded values because those names I have not provided, but whatever values that I have provided which are part of my variable list are now coming from the test data directly. So how do I look at this? So I go back to my test explorer and I go to the automation layer. So I can click on export automation, which is available here, but this is easy to see because I can see the content here. I can see all. So without doing anything, without even creating a flow chart or anything, I was able to generate the request API. Similarly, I would generate for the response API too, because at the end of the day, I'm leveraging service virtualization to create an API. And whenever the request that I passed on based on this data that is there, it would give me a response back, right? So that for that I need the response layer to be created. So I change the layer to response and give the prompt for the response. So the prompt for the response is that response should happen once the full model is created, right? So that is where I have given a prompt that use this as a response, but attached to the generate output block. And the application rejected block. So the application rejected blocks only, because I want my response to be generated only once my full model is processed, and use the variable declared in the flow. So automatically it would now update my application, sorry, update my models and update the process block of application rejected and the generate output with the response, right? So if I click on this and I go to automation layer, so automatically the response is now attached with the variables that are declared. So the reference number I have not mentioned, so that it's just picking up a random one, but as you can see, less remaining all the variables are picked up from the variables that were declared previously. Similarly, I go back to rejected and there would be a rejected status, right? So we can generate this now. And if I go back to my test cases and see the automation layer again, so now I would have a response which has a meaningful response. Why it was why it was received and application successfully submitted, and if there is a rejection, there would be some sort of a response for negative scenario. Yep. So let's quickly go ahead and create a virtual service. So there is a direct export button here. We can export it from the model itself, but once you are here at the Path Explorer, there is an export directly to our service virtualization. So I can export directly and create a virtual service. So if I go back to my portal and hit the request, let me log in again. So right now they would, let me remove it so that you would see that only one is available. Right, so if I go back here, Now I can select response from response and request from request, and I can give a meaningful name, that webinar demo. And I'll say there is an advanced button as well, but I can just click on create service. And once it is created, it's going to give me a notification that the virtual service was created and export is complete. Now I click on refresh. So how I validate whether the correct request response were created is I can download the MAR file, right? And I can keep it and I can upload it to the project. Now I want to just validate if the correct request response pair were created or not. So if I click on submit, and I can go back to manage virtual service, change the project. I would see the webinar demo and I would see all the transactions. So as you can see, these are all the transactions that are passed on by by ARD. All the application details, name, and everything is passed on. And based on that data, I am getting a response back. Right. So this is how quickly I can just pass on that information that yes, there is a request requirement, and based on that, I want to create an API-based testing. Yeah, I can quickly generate it. I can generate practically any sort of things out of this model. I can generate the code to do the API testing. Let's say if I want to generate the curl script for testing this API, I can do that. So there is no limitation to how I'm able to what kind of automation framework that I need to generate. Right. So this is like a quick demo on how we can leverage ARD. Use prompts. You have to give correct prompts in order to generate it. So I've generated this flow many a time. That's why I was able to get this flow generated. All you need to provide is a correct prompt, and if you have to update a few things here and there in the user story or in the prompt, you can just update. Click on the update button. Then there is an ask button which tells explain the model. So if I ask this button saying that explain the model, it would tell me what was the criteria that was used to create this model. So that is very important nowadays, because let's say if you have test case written manually somewhere and you want to import it, you should be able to explain it to your testers and your product owners that why was this particular model created. So it tells you the high level step-by-step logics, what are the eligibility criteria, what is the credit limit criteria. All of this information is provided by AI itself based on understanding this model. So that is again very helpful. Some past teams who have created models, you have to understand what was the criteria used to create this model. You just have to ask it and it will tell. So this is helpful for newer users as well as for existing users who have created big models, which are general norm for our ARD usage, where like we have a lot of models which are doing end-to-end testing as well. So it provides information about everything here. So this is, any questions? This is the demo. Yeah.
Yeah, so I am going to unmute everyone so they're able to ask questions. I did see a few questions come in, Sachin, during your presentation. One of them was, what kind of code can be generated?
So, so there is no limitation on the code that can be generated. We can generate Java, we can generate Python and everything, because at the end of the day, AI has to understand what kind of automation it has to generate, and it would be able to generate that. So there is no limitation on the type of code that it can generate. Yeah, I've even generated COBOL code with the model. So yeah, there is no limitation on the type of code.
All right.
Yeah.
And then another one that has come in, it says, can I use the link in the user story within Rally directly?
Yes, yes, we can use a link. We do have a very good integration with like Rallies and Jiras of the world, where you can connect your Rally, you can connect your Jira and import it and directly import it, or you can use the link. So we do have that available. Yes.
All right, thank you. And then, okay, there's one more. It says for the manual, sometimes they use Excel spreadsheets. So is that acceptable? Can they pull in the data from an Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah, that is a very important question nowadays, because like before, people used to write thousands and thousands of Excel sheets with the test cases, and there has to be some sort of understanding now done to see what were the test cases that were generated, right? So we do have a capability to attach the Excel, which has all the test cases, and it understands the Excel and creates the model out of it. So yes, that is a good question to ask, and yes, we do have that capability to attach the whole Excel sheet which has all the test cases, and it is able to create the model out of it. Yes.
Okay. All right, don't think I see any more in the panel. Just a reminder, you guys can come off mute if you want to ask a question directly. Okay. I'm not hearing anything, so I guess we can wrap it up for today, Sachin. I want to thank you again for doing this for us. And as a reminder to everyone, it is being recorded and will be available on our AppDev YouTube channel.
Sure.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, Sachin.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Have a good one. Have a good day. Thank you.